There is a silence that is heavier than absence. A quiet that lingers long after voices have faded, after rooms have emptied, after the world seems to continue without noticing. It is the silence of being unseen, of words that rise and fall like fragile echoes, only to be swallowed before they reach another ear. For some, this is not a single moment, but a thread woven through the fabric of their lives, small, unnoticed moments when expression met indifference, when truth met dismissal. To be left unheard is to inhabit a peculiar solitude, one that is not entirely loneliness, but a constant whisper of erasure. Children who spoke their fears into the walls, adolescents whose confessions were met with distracted nods, adults whose ideas faded in the hum of louder voices. They carry these silent experiences like invisible scars. Over time, this quiet molds the self in subtle, persistent ways, shaping confidence, intimacy, trust, and the courage to speak again. And yet, there is a strange intimacy in recognizing this truth. To see it mirrored in another, to understand the delicate architecture of the unheard, is to glimpse the human psyche at its most tender and vulnerable. This is a journey not of blame, but of observation, a meditation on what it means to live under the quiet gravity of being consistently unnoticed, and the ways it can quietly define a life. Chapter 1: The Echo of Silence. There is a peculiar weight in speaking and not being heard. Words, carefully chosen, tumble from the lips only to vanish into the space between people, leaving behind a faint emptiness. It is not always an obvious rejection, not a harsh word or a slammed door, but the quiet, almost imperceptible dismissal, the polite nod, the distracted glance, the continuation of a conversation that never truly included you. Over time, these moments accumulate, layering like sediment, subtle but enduring. Children first encounter this echo. They ask questions, express fear, or share joy, only to find their emotions minimized, their voices redirected. Perhaps it is a parent too busy to respond, a teacher too weary to notice, or peers who do not understand. The child learns early that their thoughts can be overlooked, that their inner world may be invisible to others. And in that realization, the first cracks appear, small hesitations, fleeting doubts, a growing sense that perhaps speaking is not always worthwhile. As years progress, the pattern deepens. Adolescents discover the same silence in friendships, in classrooms, in first encounters with love. They learn to anticipate the lack of attention, to temper their words, to hold back truths that once flowed freely. Each unheard sentence becomes a shadow, a gentle erosion of confidence that whispers, "Perhaps your voice is too small." Yet within this quiet, there is also a strange intimacy. It teaches acute listening, empathy, and the sensitivity to notice what others may overlook. The echo of silence shapes not only what is withheld, but how one perceives the world, a heightened awareness of absence, of omission, of the fragile thread that connects speaking and being recognized. It is this echo that will carry through the chapters ahead, a subtle but persistent presence, coloring memory, shaping identity, and inviting reflection on what it truly means to exist in a world where one's voice is sometimes not enough. Chapter 2: Roots in Childhood. The earliest silences often leave the deepest marks. In childhood, the mind is a sponge, absorbing not only what is said but how it is received. When a young voice is met with inattention, impatience, or dismissal, it learns that expression may be fragile, conditional, or even risky. These early experiences form a quiet blueprint, mapping the boundaries of safety and visibility. Family dynamics play a central role. A home that prizes stoicism or achievement over emotion can inadvertently teach a child that feelings are inconvenient, unworthy, or burdensome. Siblings, too, may contribute, their louder demands or successes overshadowing a quieter presence. Even well-meaning adults may unconsciously communicate that certain voices are less important, less necessary, less heard. Each interaction layers a pattern of expectation. The world listens selectively. Schools and peer groups continue this narrative. The shy child overlooked in class, the student whose questions are glossed over, the teenager whose confessions meet indifference. Each instance reinforces the notion that some voices carry less weight. Social hierarchies form early, and those who find themselves on the periphery learn to negotiate silence as a survival strategy. These patterns do not vanish with age. The child who grows up unheard carries those experiences into adolescence and adulthood, often unconsciously. The echoes of parental neglect, societal oversight, or peer dismissal linger, influencing how they trust others, assert themselves, or even believe in the value of their own thoughts. Yet within these early roots lies both fragility and resilience. The child may learn heightened observation, empathy, and sensitivity to subtle emotional cues. The same silences that wound also cultivate an inner depth, a quiet attentiveness to what others overlook, a capacity for nuanced reflection. Childhood, then, is both the origin of the unseen weight and the seed of the perceptive awareness that will accompany a lifetime. Chapter 3: The Psychology Behind the Quiet. To be unheard is more than a fleeting frustration. It is a profound psychological imprint that shapes the architecture of the mind. Human beings are wired for connection. From infancy, the brain seeks recognition, mirroring, and attunement. When responses are absent or inconsistent, neural pathways adapt, not always consciously, to accommodate a world that seems selectively attentive. Over time, this adaptation becomes a subtle, persistent pattern, the expectation that speaking may not matter. Attachment theory offers insight into this dynamic. Children who experience emotional neglect or inconsistent listening often develop anxious or avoidant attachment patterns. They may oscillate between craving attention and guarding their expressions, creating a tension between vulnerability and self-protection. These early experiences affect not only relationships but also the development of self-worth, confidence, and emotional regulation. Neurologically, repeated experiences of being unheard activate the brain's stress response. Even minor dismissals can trigger the limbic system, embedding memories of rejection and shaping responses to future social interactions. Over time, these repeated patterns can subtly alter decision-making, social engagement, and the ability to assert personal needs. What begins as a simple human desire, to be seen and acknowledged, can transform into a quiet anticipation of dismissal, a learned hesitancy to speak before listening for validation. The psychological consequences extend into adulthood: hesitation in sharing ideas at work, reluctance to disclose feelings in relationships, and the internalized whisper that certain thoughts are unworthy of attention. Yet these patterns are not solely deficits. They are also adaptive responses, the mind's way of protecting itself from repeated hurt. Awareness of this mechanism allows for reflection, a recognition that being unheard is not a flaw, but a deeply human response to environments that failed to listen. Understanding the science behind the quiet provides context for the inner conflict that follows, the tension between longing to speak and fearing futility, a struggle that quietly shapes much of the human experience. Chapter 4: Inner Conflict and Resistance. Being unheard creates a quiet tension within. There is a desire to express, to reveal inner truths, yet alongside it grows a subtle hesitation, a fear that words will dissolve into indifference. This inner conflict often manifests as self-censorship, a careful weighing of whether a thought is worth sharing, whether it will be acknowledged, whether it will matter. Over time, this hesitancy becomes almost instinctive, a protective measure honed through repeated experiences of dismissal. Resistance arises not only toward speaking, but toward vulnerability itself. Sharing feelings, needs, or ideas becomes a careful negotiation with the self. Each attempt carries the memory of past silences, the unspoken lessons learned in childhood and adolescence. Better to remain quiet, the mind whispers. Better to preserve energy, avoid rejection. And yet, silence brings its own ache, a gnawing emptiness that reinforces the very longing it seeks to suppress. Relationships are particularly affected. Those left unheard may appear distant, guarded, or reticent, not from lack of care, but from years of internal negotiation between desire and caution. The tension becomes a constant companion, shaping how intimacy is approached, how trust is offered, and how connection is sought. Emotional expression may feel risky, even when the environment is safe, because the internalized pattern has become familiar. Yet, conflict is not merely limitation, it is also awareness. It is the mind's quiet insistence that expression is important, that being seen matters, even when fear persists. The struggle itself carries meaning, a testament to the human need to connect, to be recognized, and to matter. Within this tension lies the seed of eventual realization that the echoes of the unheard can be understood, reframed, and eventually, gently transformed. Chapter 5. A Moment of Realization. There comes a subtle awakening, a quiet turning point when the patterns of being unheard begin to reveal themselves. It may emerge unexpectedly, a pause in conversation, a reflection triggered by memory, a recognition in another's experience. Suddenly, what once felt like personal failure or social inadequacy is seen as part of a larger pattern, a repeated experience shaped by environment, circumstance, and early life. This realization carries a gentle clarity. The mind begins to trace connections, the childhood questions that went unanswered, the adolescent confessions that faded into indifference, the adult ideas that were dismissed or ignored. Each instance is no longer isolated but part of a continuum, illuminating how deeply the experience of being unheard has shaped self-expression, trust, and connection. With awareness comes perspective. It is not about blame or grievance, but understanding. Recognition allows the mind to differentiate between past experiences and present reality. One may see that avoidance, hesitation, or guardedness were protective responses, natural adaptations to an environment that did not always listen. They are not inherent flaws, but learned strategies, evidence of resilience rather than weakness. His moment of insight often brings a profound sense of relief. The invisible weight of silences begins to lift, replaced by the capacity to observe one's own patterns with curiosity instead of judgment. And within that awareness, a quiet hope emerges, the possibility that voice, once stifled, can find resonance, and that the human spirit, shaped by absence, can also grow toward presence. The journey from silence to understanding is subtle, gradual, and deeply human, a recognition that allows the self to emerge more fully, attuned both to inner voice and the echoes of the world around it. Chapter 6. Healing through recognition. Healing begins not with grand gestures, but with quiet acknowledgement. To recognize the lingering effects of being unheard is to honor the experiences that shaped the self. It is to see the patterns etched in behavior, the hesitation in speech, the subtle self-censorship, and to meet them with gentle awareness rather than judgment. This recognition becomes a bridge between past and present, a pathway toward integration and self-compassion. Empathy plays a central role. When others respond with genuine attention, listening without interruption or dismissal, the mind experiences validation that was once absent. These moments may be small: a friend who truly hears, a partner who pauses, a colleague who acknowledges a thought, but their impact is profound. Each instance reinforces the innate human need for connection and restores trust in the possibility of being seen. Self-reflection deepens the process. Journaling, meditation, or mindful awareness allows one to trace the echoes of past silences and to understand the ways they shaped choices, relationships, and self-perception. Through this conscious engagement, the nervous system begins to relax its habitual vigilance. The inner critic softens, and the mind discovers it can speak without the preemptive fear of dismissal. Integration emerges gradually. Being heard becomes both practice and possibility, an exercise in expressing needs, sharing feelings, and asserting ideas with gentle confidence. The individual learns that their voice has value, that expression is meaningful, and that connection is achievable. In this healing, the quiet spaces between words no longer carry only absence. They carry attention, reflection, and care. The act of listening, both to oneself and from others, becomes a tender reclaiming of voice, a restoration of presence, and a subtle but enduring affirmation of humanity. Chapter 7. The Quiet Reflection. There is a final, gentle stillness in acknowledging the weight of being unheard. It is a quiet reflection, not a conclusion, but a meditation on presence, voice, and the subtle power of attention. Life carries on, yet awareness now allows one to perceive the spaces where words were once lost, and to notice